Today, Honda announced an updated CB1000R for the next model year, and it represents the first major rethink of their most powerful naked bike since the Neo Sport Cafe design language was introduced back in 2018. There are changes to the engine, the visual design, and some of the electronics, as well as an awesome looking new black edition with a stealthy finish and a couple of extras. So in today's video, we'll look over all of the changes as well as the black edition to find out whether these updates will keep the CB1000R competitive. But before we get started, if you're new here and you want to see all of the latest new bikes for 2021, then please do remember to hit subscribe. They're coming thick and fast at the moment, so hit subscribe if you want to see each video as soon as it goes live. Let's start with the visual updates with a bunch of tweaks across the bike that modernize it ever so slightly and give it a bit more of an aggressive look. Working from the front, the headlight has been revised with a new teardrop shape angling back towards the dash. The completely round headlight of the previous generation was somewhat of a signature design feature, but I like this evolution which keeps the overall feel of the front end but with a bit more of a modern feel. There are also similarly subtle revisions to the radiator shrouds and side panels. Both of them have been made ever so slightly smaller, as well as being angled forward, in Honda's words, into the direction of travel. So again, not exactly a complete redesign, but more of a little tweak that helps to emphasize that forward-leaning, aggressive hunched look that works so well on this bike. At the back end, the subframe has been completely redesigned with a new slimmer look and a bare aluminium finish as opposed to the black finish of the previous generation. Again, a leaner back end helps to make the front end look relatively big, and I think that when you put them side by side, the 2021 version certainly has more of a sporty and purposeful look. Swing arm mounted license plate holders seem to divide opinion, with some of you preferring the traditional stalk hanging off the subframe, whilst others appreciate the stubbiness it gives to the back of the bike. But for 2021, Honda say that they've made the license plate holder a little bit smaller, which I think we can all agree is a good thing wherever it's positioned. But I think my favourite change to the visuals of the CB1000R is the new 7-spoke cast aluminium wheels. They're certainly busier than the wheels of the last generation, almost to the point where they begin to look like old school spoked wheels, but I really like how they affect the look of the bike, especially that single-sided swing arm. I've always been a big fan of that feature, and I think it looks even better now with these more intricate wheels. In terms of tech, Honda have got rid of the inverted LCD display of the previous CB1000R and now fitted a 5-inch full-color high-visibility TFT screen. The first reason that this is a massive upgrade is that the inverted LCD display wasn't particularly easy to read, especially in bright conditions or when it got wet. They've addressed this problem on the CB650R for 2021 by adjusting the angle of the screen to reduce reflections, but it's great to see a full-on color TFT on this range-topping model, which will undoubtedly be much more visible in any conditions. Secondly, it offers more versatility and customization with 4 different display layouts as well as day and night modes. The white day mode on Honda bikes has always looked a bit clinical to me, and when I borrowed the Africa Twin earlier this year, I found myself setting it to night mode permanently as I preferred the way it looked. And I think it looks better on this bike as well. The new dash also shows fuel level and consumption, rider mode selection and engine parameters, and a shift up indicator, and it's all administered from the buttons on the left-hand switchgear. As well as better visibility and flexibility, the new TFT screen also opens up Honda's smartphone voice control, which allows voice management of phone calls, email, music and navigation. The system requires a helmet-mounted headset, and then you pair your phone with the dash via Bluetooth to access these features. Smartphone connectivity is becoming increasingly common on bikes at all price points, so it's great to see Honda adding this to the CB1000R as standard to bring it right up to date. Lastly, on the tech front is a new USB socket under the seat to keep your devices charged. In terms of the engine, there are some modest revisions such as a new fuel injector setting, which Honda claims produces a smoother delivery of power and torque. The O2 lambda sensors of the exhaust have been replaced with linear airflow sensors in the downpipes, which allow more accurate measurement of exhaust gases, required for Euro 5 emissions regulations compliance. But otherwise, it's the same 998cc inline-4 that produces 143 horsepower at 10,500 RPM and 104 Nm of peak torque at 8,250 RPM. That's actually good news, as some 2021 updates of other bikes have resulted in slightly reduced output owing to some of the retuning or reworking of the exhaust system required for Euro 5. But also, I absolutely loved the character and smoothness and power of this engine when I borrowed it from Honda earlier this year, so more of the same is a good thing in my book. There's a link to that review in the description in case you haven't seen it already. 3 riding modes of Rain, Standard and Sport remain for 2021, as well as the user mode, which allows customization of the throttle response, engine braking and traction control, with 3 levels for each, as well as the ability to disable traction control. The chassis is also unchanged, with the same mono backbone steel frame and single-sided swing arm. Showa's fully adjustable separate function big piston forks and rebound and preload adjustable shocks still account for suspension duties, and the same Tokico braking setup is present too. There's a pair of radially mounted 4-piston calipers on 310mm discs at the front, with a 2-piston caliper on a 256mm disc at the rear. So while some tweaks to the fuel injection system sound good, and with Euro 5 compliance a necessity, it's really the visual reworking, the new dash and the phone connectivity that are the headline updates. But that's not all for the next model year, because today Honda also announced a new black edition of the CB1000R. And they've really taken the brief seriously, with pretty much every component finished in black, right down to the fork stanchions. There are some machined aluminium details, such as the spokes of the wheels, the swing arm plate, the engine covers and the handlebar clamps, all of which add an extra premium touch to the finish on this beautiful looking bike, but everything else is completely blacked out, such as the headlight bezel, fly screen, radiator shrouds, side covers, subframe and the exhaust system and silencer. Honda described the paint used on the tank and pillion seat cover as deep graphite black, with the seat cover and fly screen coming as standard on this black version. There's also the optional quick shifter thrown in, which was fitted to the press bike that I reviewed earlier this year, and I really rated it. It felt super crisp both up and down, and I'd almost certainly fit one if I was buying the standard bike. Black editions seem to be a bit of a thing at the moment, with only a couple of weeks back Ducati launching a stealth version of their Street Fighter V4, but this is really one of my favourites. I especially like the machined details on the spokes of the wheels that I already really liked, and I think it all combines to make a really mean looking machine. But that said, the standard colours of this bike also look great, and I'd be hard pushed to pick between them, so let me know your favourite finish in the comments below. Would you go for the standard bike in red, silver or black, or the full-on black edition? Let me know your favourite in the comments below, and if you're new here and you want to see more videos like this, hit subscribe and I'll catch you next time.